Hello, welcome to Shad Life. What is going on lately? I've been hearing all this negative news. So, just watched a video about BMX being dead. It's like BMX being dead. The whole bike industry is struggling. Bike brands are going under. Making money in the bike industry right now is a super big struggle. And then lastly, what's with these YouTubers just up and quitting? Just watch Burn Peak, him talking about that a little bit. He's sticking around, by the way, Seth. So don't get alarmed that Burn Peak is going away. That's not what I mean. But Seth did a pretty good video explaining what's going on with YouTube, and so on and so forth. I figure I might as well say the whole thing because you want me to say that, right? So where am I at with all of this, right? Well, one of the advantages of being older, and there is an advantage. If you're younger and watching my channel, look to me for some advice because I've been through a lot of different things and phases. I know when I was younger, I didn't want to listen to older people or my elders, right? I was always really rebellious against them. But now that I'm older, I'm kind of like, gosh, I should have really listened to them, right? So let's start with BMX being dead, right? Well, BMX is pretty much never going to die. The industry might struggle. Sponsored riders might make less money. Fewer bikes might become available or be less available because brands go under, things like that. But, BMX, it's similar to skateboarding, whatever, has been through so many ups and downs. It's kind of ridiculous. And the one that I went through that where I actually thought BMX was going to die was in the late 80s when BMX Action and Freestyling Magazine merged to a magazine called Go. And then Go didn't last very long and the magazines were getting thinner. Bike brands went away, and so on. And I was like, man, in a few years, am I even going to be able to buy a BMX bike, right? And I was just starting to get into street riding, and I remember doing a wall ride and bending my rim. And I was like, wow, this really, sucks. And I didn't have a lot of money back then, but I was actually worried that BMX was going to die. And then early 90s, I want to say it was 91, I think, or maybe it was 92, but somewhere in there, video came out called Ride On. And back then, we had to buy a video cassette and stick it in a machine called the VCR to watch it, right? There was no YouTube back then, right? So that video, the introduction was so awesome because, it just basically talked about what happened to the BMX industry and how BMX was dead, but he digs his BMX bike out of a grave and pulls it out of the ground and starts riding. And, that just really hit me hard. Like the only thing that'll kill BMX is us. The industry can't kill it. Nobody, like, as long as there's riders that want to ride their bike and ride BMX will exist. It may get smaller, it may get bigger, it may do all these fluctuations, whatever, but there's always going to be a core group of people doing it, just like there has been for skateboarding. Also another thing that's gone through many ups and downs, and it is still there. And now there's a lot of talk in skateboarding about, oh, what's happening in skateboarding, whatever. Well, just because there's less money in it and less corporations can capitalize on it doesn't mean it's dying. It just means that the way that they structured things and whatever isn't working out in their favor. One of the things I don't like about a lot of corporations is they have investors, and in order for investors to be happy, the company always has to be growing. And as soon as the company goes flat, not going down, flat, investors aren't making money and they start abandoning ship and panicking and doing all these major things so they can get back to that growth curve and create growth for the investors. It has nothing to do with the riders, nothing to do with their core value and belief in the sport. It all has to do with the investors. And I don't like that model. It's sure it makes these people billionaires, whatever, but it's always come out negative because it's not a sustainable world if we're always having to have growth. It's just not even possible to just always have growth. It just isn't. So then that's why we have these big waves sometimes. And in the bicycle industry, and this is kind of getting out of BMX now, and we're going to talk about the bicycle industry as a whole. That's what happens is all these investment companies, they're not even bicycle companies. They could care less about bicycles, but they see an upward trend and they go buy out brands that we're all familiar with, and we believe in these core brands. Well, they get bought out by an investment firm, and if they will dump some money into it to get that brand growing, and keep it going. But once things go flat, not even really a decline, or if there's a small decline, profit's way down here. They're definitely profitable, but it's that growth that they're not seeing. These investment firms just dump those companies off like a bad habit. They don't care about bicycling. They just care about making money for the investors. So that's what we're seeing right now. We had the pandemic. There was a huge spike in demand. They weren't able to keep up with supply. The bike industry went gung-ho on ordering supply, and by the time they were getting the supply, demand dropped. Now there's an oversupply, and so they're having to dump things off super cheap. That's what's happening. And there are people that jumped on the bandwagon, whether it be BMX, mountain biking, whatever, during the pandemic or whatever, or because it was cool, because of Red Bull or something like that, right? And they jumped on the bandwagon, and then they got bored with it. They weren't really core into the sport. I can honestly say I'm core into the sport. Got into BMX when I was 12, 13, somewhere around there. And I'm 56 years old and still ride BMX, yeah. So that's what's going on with that aspect. But it's about us, the people that actually ride our bikes, that really matters. And honestly, sometimes you just got to get away from YouTube, get away from media and all of that stuff for a while, and just go enjoy the purity of the thing that you like to do, right? And that's sometimes the reality. It's like getting, we've become this society where we're just addicted to our screens, and now there's shorts and stuff like that. So now I'm starting to shift into, it's kind of funny as I talk more, I'm just kind of molding into the next subject. Let's talk about YouTube here. There's some big YouTubers, not necessarily bike ones, but some of them have, but they just decided they're not going to do it anymore. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. One, there actually is a reduction in kind of demand and viewership just in general. People jump on bandwagons, or I feel like with biking, you can only watch so many, cork front flip, whatever, cork front flip. Quirk, did I say cork front flip? They are pretty quirky. Cork front flip things, whatever, right? You can only watch so much of that before you're like, okay, I've seen that a bunch of times. I love watching R. Willie and him doing his crazy stuff, but it's kind of like I get to a point where it's like, well, it's really not that much new. It's like a small tweak on the last thing he did, right? So I could see why the interest in that kind of starts to fade off a little bit. One of the things with my channel is I just stick with what I'm about. I don't cater to algorithms. It's why my channel hasn't grown rapidly fast. If I wanted my channel to grow rapidly fast, I could make sure I spend all this time doing really fancy edits and not really being true to myself and just being true to what the algorithms out there want me to do. And I don't want to do that because that wouldn't be fun for me. I do this because it's fun for me and I like doing it, right? So that's kind of one thing that's happening with YouTube is I just feel like there's a lot of short videos, a lot of like quick, ooh, yeah, cool, scroll to the next thing going on. And people tend to just want that short, quick fix versus watching a longer, more detailed video. Like how many of you watched my wheel build video? Like probably not very many people. Well, I actually know not a whole bunch of people watch because I get analytics of how much it's watched, right? But I still put it out there because there are people that like that stuff, that helps them. They enjoy it. So I'm going to put it out there. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to cater to the algorithm. I mean, honestly, even out of all people in the world, hardly anybody cares about building a bicycle wheel or even knows anything about it. And then out of all the people that ride bicycles, how many of you are going to build a wheel? Probably a very, very small slice. So when I do a video about building a wheel, I know I'm catering to this tiny little sliver of people out there, and I'm fine with that, right? So the other thing, and this is where I'm going to just link that Burn Peak video down in the description because he explains it really good. One thing I like about Seth and why he has so many viewers is because he's really good at editing and doing things, and he's really good at explaining things better than me. I even made a comment on his video that he's got a special talent, right? He's really good at what he does. He really describes the change in how YouTube does algorithms. And I'm kind of like okay with what they've done because I feel like the attention span has gotten so short. It's almost like a societal thing. And now what YouTube is doing is they're wanting to give you more credit, more monetization for us if we make a little bit longer video and not just make short videos, which is kind of interesting because YouTube introduced shorts not that long ago and they became a big thing on YouTube, probably to compete with like TikTok, right, and Instagram and things like that. But they're changing their algorithm around a little bit, and it just means those people who live off of YouTube have to either change how they do things or just abandon ship, right? Where I have an advantage is you obviously could tell by my number of subscribers that I do not make a living off of YouTube. And I probably never will. And I don't care. Honestly, that's not why I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube because I have a passion for bikes. And the reason my channel is named Shad Life is because sometimes, every once in a while, I like to talk about something else. I talk about my sobriety. I talked about my mom's death on my channel. Talked about things like that, right? And it also allows my channel to mold and tweak. I recently did a video on buying a new camera, right? Because I like photography. So maybe little bits of photography will slip into my channel. I don't know. I really don't know what my channel is going to evolve to, but I made it so it's flexible to do what I want to do and what I'm passionate about to put out there on YouTube. I'm never going to be somebody that falls for the algorithm and falls for that monetization, and I have to have that. That's where I have an advantage, because while this is going on with YouTube, it's unfortunate. There's people that make a living off of doing social media and YouTube, and some of them are struggling right now, and maybe they have to go out and get a real job, right? Whatever that is. I have a real job. I'm a software engineer, and I really like what I do. I work for a good company. I get paid well. I get benefits. benefits. I get benefits. YouTubers, you don't get healthcare benefits. You don't get vacation benefit. You don't get those things. So there is some things that you have to account for when you decide that you're not going to work, you know, in a regular job, right? So I can kind of just keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm fine with that. And I don't have negativity about any of this stuff. You know, like I said, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of change in my lifetime. And everything ends up being just fine. We end up being okay. And that's really the biggest message here. And if you're passionate about BMX and you like BMX, if you're passionate about mountain biking, gravel riding, skateboarding, go do it. Just go enjoy your passion. Nobody's saying you can't. So there you have it. I appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe. Peace.